Hello and welcome back to Boyd's Blue Alpine Freeze Drying channel. Today I'm going to be freeze drying some more scrambled eggs. I'm trying it a little bit differently this time. Last time I pre-froze everything in silicone molds and then put them in the freezer and then took them out of the molds and put them on the freeze dryer trays. This time I was trying to save a step by putting the eggs directly into the molds on the freeze dryer tray. Some of the molds I had were a little bit too tall to fit in my freeze dryer, so I ended up having to put those in the regular freezer anyway. But my plan is to, once they're frozen, take them out of the molds, which they will then fit on my freeze dryer trays, and continue with the rest of them. But I'm going to do about half of the eggs, three of the trays, which will be in the original silicone molds when they're freeze drying. So to do that, I just took the silicone mat out of the freezer tray, and I'm placing the molds directly onto the tray and placing it in the freeze dryer, and then using the freeze dryer to freeze those tonight. So let me show you how I've got those eggs in their molds, and I just poured them on the counter, weighed them, and then poured them directly into the freeze dryer. I could have also weighed them or poured them directly into the tray to save the risk of spilling, but let me show you those eggs in their mold. It's about 60 and 51, so it's 131 eggs I ended up getting in here. So I probably could have fit more in if I had taken the molds out like I did last time, but I've still got another 180 eggs, so I've got plenty of eggs to try other methods and try other things to see which one I like best. I think I do like this method best. I think I'm just going to buy me some more of the smaller silicone molds, because it's a lot easier to just let the freeze dryer freeze it rather than trying to stack them in the freezer, take them out of the freezer, put them in the tray, take them out of the molds on it. It's just, a little bit too many steps that are unnecessary. I think if I could get a few more of these molds, then it works. Plus I can use those molds if I wanted to. Each mold holds about 2 eggs, so it's also really easy just to grab those squares if I wanted to store them separately as smaller egg batches, and just 2 eggs per batch, to do a couple of eggs for camping or whatever. So anyway, let me show you the eggs that I've got. So these are kind of an idea of how the molds are set up. I've got these little square molds here. They're just little silicone molds. It's 6 molds to a tray. I've got 2 trays in each one, so 12 of these, and each one holds about 80 grams of egg. Each egg's about 40 to 50 grams. A medium egg's about 40 grams. So these are holding about 2 medium eggs, 1 extra large egg, 1 goose egg. So it's about 80 grams per egg, so it's 2 eggs. And I've got these smaller trays which hold about, I didn't weigh each one, but they're about an egg each. So it's about 25 grams each, so it'd be like a small egg in each of these. And then behind that I've got another silicone mold of 12 of the 80 gram molds. So that's what I've got here. The other molds that I've got are a little bit bigger. I've got a couple of big rectangle molds that are going to hold about a dozen eggs per mold, and I've got a couple of rounder ones that hold about 2 or 3 eggs per mold as well, but they were too tall. Last time I did it, they stuck to the top when I filled up the really big ones, so I had the medium round ones that are too big to fit on these trays. So I'm going to take them out of the silicone mold. The silicone mold makes it just a little too large. It's about 1/8 of an inch too large to fit in this tray. So when I put it on if I take the silicone mat out of this, put the other tray in it, it's just a little too tall to reach into these, into the freeze drying area that I have here. So I will take them out of the mold, put them back on this mat, and then the eggs will fit fine. So I'm just going to use this to freeze this, and while my freeze dryer is freezing these ones, I've got the other molds that are a little bit too large to fit on these trays in my freezer, freezing until those eggs are frozen, and then I will take them out and transfer them to this. Okay, at this point I'm just taking the frozen eggs out of the molds that wouldn't fit inside the trays of the freezer. So these 4 molds, I've got 4 of these molds like this, and they were just a little bit too deep. So I didn't quite fill the pieces up, but these molds were just a little bit too big to fit on the tray and inside the freezer. So I have filled
filled the eggs with that, and now I'm just going to take these eggs out of the mold, and then the other two are rectangular molds that hold about a dozen eggs each, and I will take those out and put those on the 5th tray, and that will give me, right now I'm just weighing these so I can get the approximate weight on here. So I'll just put these in here. Total weight for this is 1,045 grams, or 1,047. Okay, so stick this in there, and that fits very nicely in that freezer. Put this tray on the table and empty these last two. This one doesn't, I don't know if it's all fully frozen or not, but it should be frozen enough to transport it here. It looks like it is frozen. Good. So I'll stick that one there. And this last one here, oh, not quite frozen solid. So I'm going to go ahead and give it another 2 hours of freeze time, maybe 3 hours of freeze time in the freeze dryer, just to make sure that these are totally frozen. Like this one here, you can still see some wet egg there. So I will refreeze that to make sure I've got enough freeze time on there. So let's go ahead and show you the settings I'm using. The settings I'm using for these eggs, I have modified the liquid settings. That was the closest to what I need for the egg settings. I went ahead and changed it. It's been on the freeze mode for about, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 hours. I've had it freezing while I had the other eggs in my other freezer. As you saw, the one big block of eggs wasn't quite frozen solid, so it's probably going to make the chamber is really cold right now. I just turned it off just long enough to film this video because it's so noisy. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the liquid setting, which I had edited. So I've changed the freeze time now to 2.5 hours, which should be plenty of time to finish freezing the one block of eggs, since I was, you know, probably 80% frozen, 90% frozen already, and the chamber is still, you know, probably, I'm not sure how cold it is, but it's very cold right now, probably around 0 or, you know, below 0 somewhere. So the dry time, I've changed it to 20.5 hours. I think originally the liquid was 20 hours, and so I added a half hour of dry time. This should give me a total of 23 hours time. About 9 o'clock tomorrow night the eggs should be done, so it should work. So so my dry temperature 115 degrees. The mTOR, the drying pressure, is going to be set to 975, which is a little higher. I think originally it was 900, so I bumped it up a little bit to 975, which should speed it up a little bit. So so we'll go with that. So the door is locked tight, and the vacuum chamber line is locked. Check that, double check that. And so I will just continue, and that should start the refrigeration cycle. And then in 2.5 hours, it will switch over to the pump and start freeze drying. So we'll check back tomorrow night and see how this works. If I needed more time, I will let you know, and we'll check this out and finish this up tomorrow night. So thank you very much for coming. It has now been 24 hours. Actually, when I checked it at 24 hours, a few of these thicker pieces were still kind of cold, and there was still some, you know, moisture in this one. I could feel the cold. It was still icy cold. The top ones all seemed to be done. There was nothing cold there, and they were easily separating, so they looked like they were all completely finished. But rather than just adding 1 or 2 hours and checking it in the middle of the night, I decided to add another, I think I added 10 more hours. Ran it till the next morning so I could check in the daytime instead of having to get up in midnight and do it. So these ended up running about 30 hours. They're totally dry now. When I put my fingers on these, they felt warm instead of there's no, you know, no sensation of coldness at all to it. So I'm sure they're dried all the way through now. And these big ones here are the ones I was kind of worried about the most. And that one, you can still feel the ice on it at 22 hours. So I guess those bigger blocks do take a little bit longer. But yeah, it would have been done probably about 24 hours. If I'd done this size here, if I'd just done all these smaller size here, which is what I prefer, they would have all been done probably in 20 hours. The 22 hours, they were definitely all done. So anyway, I'm just going to package these up, weigh them all, package them, and that'll do it. So this is one of the reasons that I like freezing the eggs in silicone or using these molds. Look how easy this is to take these blocks out and each block is equivalent of about 2 eggs. So if I was to put them into a smaller bag, you know, just for personal use, you could do like 2 eggs at a time or whatever. So it's just really easy to package them, really easy to separate them. There's, you know, if you want to, you can kind of crumble them up and make them fit better. But yeah, so I'm just weighing these right now. We got the air absorbing packets in the bag, which I weigh with each bag. So I weigh that, put the weight on it, open up my next bag, and just kind of show you how I do this. I just really like these silicone molds. I'm going to buy a few more, so I've got enough for like 5 or 6, but if I had enough to do all these eggs, it would be so much easier to do it, because I could pour it right into the mold. Pour it right in while it's in the freeze dryer. Use the freeze dryer to freeze dry it, and then remove it. You can see how easy it is to remove these. So it's just really convenient. So I'm going to stick these ones in there. Now I just take out each mold. And the cleanup's quite easy. Just take those out so easily. Next tray. Do 1 large bag, 1 gallon size bag of eggs. These be for a larger storage size. Oxygen packet, zero that, and stick in my bag, stick in the bag. And you can tell I did spill when I was putting these eggs in the tray, but that's all right. So that's how I put these in the bag, zero those out, mark the bag with the weight, 361 grams. So I think I was based on my calculated dry weight. I'm about, for this batch is around 12 grams per egg, so that 360 grams of eggs divided by 12, it's about 30 eggs. So it's about a tray of eggs, which will be a little bit, you know, long-term, large use storage, maybe for a family camping trip where we need, you know, like a whole carton of eggs or a whole tray. Yeah, not a carton, but a whole flat of eggs. So anyway, so now I'm just gonna wash up and get all my eggs washed up, work out the labels, put labels on the bags, put them in storage. So thank you. Thank you for coming to Boyd's Blue Alpine Freeze Drying channel. Today we did eggs. I think I have found my favorite way to do eggs, and that is with these silicone square molds that hold approximately 2 to 2.5 eggs per mold, and it just makes it really easy to pour the scrambled eggs directly into that mold, put it straight into the freeze dryer. I've seen other people just try to pour it on the tray with either parchment paper or the silicone mold underneath. It just makes a sticky, I mean, it doesn't make a sticky mess because when it's freeze dried it just breaks off, but that's so easy to remove the eggs from the mold directly into the bags. It makes it so you can portion it easier if you wanted to portion out 2 or 3 eggs per small bag and just take them for camping or just something like that. It's really easy to do. So I'm going to buy a few more of those molds. I got them very cheap on Amazon or Temu. I can't remember where I got these ones, but they're quite inexpensive. So I will just see if I can find some more. In the future, I'll just do all my eggs in those molds, just scrambling them up, pouring them directly into the molds, directly into the freeze dryer, and freeze them in the freeze dryer. Took probably about less than 6 hours to freeze dry them in those molds. So, you know, I figure 7 hours, the standard 7-hour freeze time that goes with the liquid setting would probably be enough, and they would look like they'd probably freeze dried in 20 hours too. So if I didn't have the bigger molds, it probably would have worked a lot better. So that's my plan for the future. I do have another 200 plus eggs in my fridge right now waiting to be done, so I will probably do that. Plus, I don't know, I'm sitting here looking at a bunch of cases of canned corn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cases of canned corn that is about to expire, so I'm gonna freeze dry that pretty soon too. So thank you for coming to my channel, and we'll be back with some more freeze drying in the future as soon as I can get all this get the energy to do the next batch of corn, so, or eggs, or whatever I'm gonna do next. I haven't figured it out yet, but thank you for coming to my channel. If you're getting anything out of this, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you know anybody who's interested in buying a freeze dryer, please let them know about Blue Alpine. I find it's a fantastic company. That the freeze dryers are working, you know, mine's working really well. I've had it now, done about 20 batches of, you know, including candy, probably about 25 batches. It's a very, very good freeze dryer, and I've been really happy with it. And so if you have any questions or something you'd like me to freeze dry specifically, let me know, and I'll see if I can figure out a way to do that. And thank you very much for coming. Have a good day.